They do say, Mrs. M, that verbal insults hurt more than physical pain. They are, of course, wrong, as you will soon discover when I stick this toasting fork in your head.
Welcome to episode 10 of the Blackadder podcast, where Ian, put that toasting fork down or I'll have to mention the Scottish play.
Macbeth.
Oh, I don't even know what the words are. You can tell us later.
Yes. La Decima today.
Huh?
10th episode. Very exciting. You can tell how excited we are.
Incredibly. How are you?
I'm very well, Gerry. How are you?
Wet.
It's not that exciting. I mean, I know I said.
Just get caught in a downpour.
You don't get those up here in Scotland, do you?
Never. And it didn't help that it took you about 2 minutes to answer the door.
That's because I heard the downpour.
Yeah. We have a theatrical episode this week.
We do. Yeah, a theatre man yourself?
You know I am.
Yes. Have you ever trod the boards?
Never.
Never?
Never.
Don't think I've been on a stage since I was at school.
Yeah.
Anyway, there's probably a reason for that.
No doubt. Where we can be heard but not seen.
Exactly.
Yeah. This week reminded me of Columbo and Sledgehammer, both podcasts which we have previously produced. We might have mentioned that once or twice.
I think you mentioned it on an earlier episode, yes.
Think so?
Yeah.
Okay. But this week it reminds me of them because they were very happy, or they weren't shy about poking fun at the acting profession.
Yes, they did both do that, and I see what you mean. I hadn't picked up on that, and I wasn't sure where you were going with it, but yes.
And I always like that, when actors can have a laugh at themselves, they don't take themselves too seriously.
Yes, quite right. Same as podcasters.
I take myself very seriously.
I'm in training 6 days a week for this.
You better make it 7.
I know, that's the problem.
Enough of this. Want to begin this week?
Should we begin in the traditional manner?
Well, have you rehearsed a summary?
Of course.
Crack a leg.
In Sense and Senility, Blackadder goes to great lengths to persuade the Prince Regent of the difference between real life and fiction. When a pair of actors begin to cause difficulties at the palace, however, the Regent's confusion looks like it may prove beneficial after all. Can Blackadder steal the show? Or is it curtains for our eponymous hero?
Encore, Ian, encore.
Never.
That's all you've got.
Exactly.
We begin in the kitchen this week, and Blackadder tells Baldric he is off to the theatre, but he's not happy about it, as he clearly despises actors, but more so because he has to go with the prince. What's his problem with the prince?
Well, the prince thinks it's all real and tries to interact with it as if these things are really happening.
Blackadder calls him Prince Mini-Brain. Baldric doesn't see the point in acting, or the theatre.
It's all sex and violence, and he gets enough of that at home, apart from the sex.
Now, he says at home, but where does he live? He lives in the gutter, or he lives upstairs?
Yeah, I think he means the Blackadder is violent towards him.
Okay.
That was what I assumed.
Interesting that he classes that as home, not work.
Yeah, but I don't know if they... Yeah, I think it's the servants and the butler and whoever else live in the house. Or the palace, whatever it is. Probably got rooms. We never see them.
Before he leaves, Blackadder tells him to get the palace cleaned up, get the kettle on. So Baldric's got a bit of housekeeping to do this episode.
And that's going to prove relevant a little later on. A little bit of set-up work here in the opening scene.
We're at the theatre. A bored Blackadder and Prince watch a couple of very hammy actors from the royal box.
When you say bored, I don't think George is bored at all. I think he's wrapped with attention.
No, I meant a bored Blackadder and...
Yeah. But the cast aren't happy that he's enjoyed the play.
Why not?
They think that means it's going to close, don't they?
Mm.
Or it's terrible if he likes it. I wasn't sure if that was a superstition thing or just his judgment is terrible, so if he likes it, it's an awful show.
The prince's limited awareness is further highlighted when a protester jumps onto the stage and calls for the death of the stupid prince before throwing what at who?
It's an Acme-style bomb, cannonball-shaped traditional cartoon bomb, which causes traditional cartoon damage.
Yeah, Blackadder runs off, but thinking this is part of the play, the prince remains holding it. And from afar, from the wings, as it were, Blackadder tries to tell him this is reality. But ironically, he claims that Blackadder is unable to tell.
Yeah, he's all mixed up and back to forth. I think he doesn't want to look stupid by making the same mistake twice.
He does look stupid.
He does look stupid.
As does the bomb makers.
Yeah, how did they want that to go? What would have been better for them in their plot?
Well, I mean, the bombs went off. The person who you wanted to kill is holding the bomb.
Yes, and it causes scorch marks.
Yeah, a few sticking plasters and a pie sorts it.
They need to work on their ammunition.
Yeah. So we're back to the palace after this incident. And a pie-eating and bandaged lucky prince still doesn't understand what has happened. Blackadder has to bring him up to speed.
I must say, Blackadder, that was a close shave. Why on earth would an anarchist possibly want to kill you?
I think it might have been you he was after, sir.
Oh, hogwash. What on earth makes you say that?
Well, my suspicions were first aroused by his use of the words, "death to the stupid prince."
That's a bit rude, wasn't it?
These are volatile times, Your Highness. The American Revolution lost your father, the colonies. The French Revolution murdered brave King Louis. And there are tremendous rumblings in Prussia. Although that might be something to do with the sausages. The whole world cries out peace, freedom, and a few less fat bastards eating all the pie.
Well, yes, quite. I mean, something must be done. Any ideas?
Yes, sir. Next week it is your royal father's birthday celebrations. I suggest that I write a brilliant speech for you to recite, to show the oppressed masses how unusually sensitive you are.
Look, tell me about these oppressed masses. What are they so worked up about?
They're worked up, sir, because they're so poor they are forced to have children simply to provide a cheap alternative to turkey at Christmas. Disease and deprivation stalk our land like two giant stalking things. And the working man is poised to overthrow us.
Oh, my God, and here he is!
Don't be silly, sir. That's Baldric, my dog's body.
What's silly about that? He looks like an oppressed mass to me. Get him out of here at once.
Shoo, Baldric. Carry on with your cleaning elsewhere. And by the end of tonight, I want that dining table so clean I could eat my dinner off it.
Did you spot the recycled joke in there?
What was that?
Well, the stocky thing is a reuse of the twisty-turny thing that Melchett used in Blackadder 2. I think Stephen Fry actually came up with that himself, from what I've read. But yeah, it's fine. It's a good joke. Why not use it again?
In a panic, the prince decides that he needs to show how sensitive he is, and has another good idea.
Yes, he wants the actors that they watched the previous evening, or was it earlier this evening? I'm not sure. Doesn't really matter. He wants them brought on board to coach him up for this speech.
Now, I said another good idea. Can you remember what his first good idea was?
His first good idea... Which episode was that in?
That's in this very scene.
Right, in this scene. You're not talking long term. No. Yes, it's one about the underwear.
Wearing it on the outside to save in laundry bills.
I don't understand the theory.
Well, I do, but it's a bit messy.
But they'll get dirty on the outside.
No, but your trousers will become dirty instead of your underwear.
Yeah. Nothing's not getting dirty.
Unless you take hourly baths.
It's true.
However, he doesn't appreciate Blackadder's opinion that it is a feeble idea. The coaching by the actors, that is.
Yeah, and Blackadder's quite resolute on this. He makes his point quite firmly that it's a terrible, terrible idea.
Yeah, that certainly gets the ire up. Can you get your ire up? What do you do with your ire?
Raised? Yeah. So it'll be up. Yeah.
Okay, so his ire is raised, and he insults Blackadder. Not for the last time in this episode, but I think Blackadder does take quite a bit of verbal abuse. More so than I think we've ever seen.
I think so, and it seems to affect him as well.
Oh, it angers him.
Yeah, I mean, it comes from the fact the prince thinks he's a prince, Blackadder's a butler, therefore he is smarter.
Yeah, Blackadder's just a thicky butler.
Thicky black, thicky adder, thicky.
Where do we head off to next?
Mrs. Miggin's coffee shop, I think.
So it's a coffee shop this week.
Yes, it was a Parisian diner, wasn't it, the last time we saw it?
And also a hangout for the poets before.
Yes.
So is it themed? Is it a...
I think it's just the same coffee shop. I think she just has, like...
No, that's what I mean. But there's always or there has been a theme to it.
Sure.
But this week I don't think there is a thespian theme, is there?
She says it's full of actors.
Yeah, so maybe she's trying to attract that clientele.
Yeah, pre-theatre menu, perhaps. Post-theatre. Blackadder certainly is looking for the actors and is gently mocked by Mrs. Miggins.
How?
Well, she points out that theatre's very hard work, but he wouldn't know about that, being only a butler. Which seems to be a bit of a running theme.
Yeah, and we heard his response at the top of the podcast this week.
We did.
So the actors are both introduced.
By each other.
Mm-hmm.
Unnecessarily.
Of course. And they take applause as they walk to their seat. Blackadder sarcastically squeezes through the admiring rabble
of nobody.
He's got a proposition for them.
He does, but they can't possibly consider it because their audience demands that they rehearse well to perform at the best of their ability.
And they are apparently then disgusted at the insinuation that they would sleep with anyone just because they are actors.
Yes.
Blackadder states that being actors, they're lucky to sleep with anyone.
Once Blackadder mentions the prince,
the
mood changes.
Yeah, they change their tune.
Yes, they agree to ditch the dirty pro bastards and come along.
Yeah.
Essentially.
Yeah, they're going to betray their artistic integrity immediately, and they agree to meet at 4 p.m. at the palace.
That's right.
So that's where we are. What's the prince wearing?
A fake moustache.
And a robe.
Yes, this is him putting on what you think are acting clothes, I think, or an acting outfit. And once again, he struggles to distinguish between fiction and reality.
Yes, he doesn't understand that Baldric is not an oppressed mass.
Yeah, and also I think, is this not when he talks about Brutus and Julius Caesar?
I think
and
so.
how upset Brutus would be to learn that Julius Caesar was just an actor, and did he go around his house and kill him afterwards? It's the same joke, but yeah, it's fine. It reminds me of actually, there's a Simpsons episode I think it's become a meme now where you've got Homer and he's got reality and dreams and they kind of keep switching. Oh no, that's not his Father Ted.
Okay. Easy mistake to make.
Is it? Maybe it's both. Who knows? Certainly the reality and dreams swap over. Yeah, I think thinking about it, I think it's Dougal and Father Ted.
Easily mistaken for Homer Simpson.
Same sort of mindset.
With a case of jaundice.
It's pretty severe, yeah.
Down in the kitchen, the door is heard being knocked, but Blackadder is in no hurry to answer it, as he knows it's the actors. And Baldric tells a story of his uncle.
Yeah, a famous theatre performer himself.
What was he famous for?
He played the second codpiece in a production of the Scottish play.
Now that's why you need to wear underwear.
Absolutely.
Did he have a big part?
That's the joke, isn't it? Depends who was playing Macbeth.
This gives Blackadder the chance to make sure us, the audience, are aware of the superstition in theatre land about Macbeth, about saying Macbeth.
You can almost sense Rowan Atkinson's disgust at having to do that codpiece joke as he's performing the line, can't you?
Baldric, when told about this, asks Blackadder to confirm that he won't be using the term then.
He says not very much.
Yeah.
Or not often, something along those lines.
Mm-hmm.
And presumably then goes to answer the door.
Yeah. So we're up in the lounge now. He eventually lets the two of them in and does his best not to mention the Scottish play.
Lest you continue in your quotation and mention the name of the Scottish play.
Oh, never fear, I shan't do that.
By the Scottish play, I assume you mean Macbeth.
The traitor off the stores, but we may come in.
What was that?
We were exorcising evil spirits. Being but a mere butler, you will not know the great theatre tradition that one does never speak the name of the Scottish play.
What, Macbeth?
Hot potato off the stores, but we may come in.
Oh, Lord, you mean you have to do that every time I say Macbeth?
Potato off the stores, but we may come in. Will you please stop saying that? Always call it the Scottish play.
So you want me to say the Scottish play?
Yes!
Rather than Macbeth?
Hot
Say, what is all this hullabaloo, all this shouting and screaming and yelling blue murder? Why, it's like that play we saw the other day. What was it called?
Macbeth, sir?
No. It was called Julius Caesar.
Oh, yes, of course. Julius Caesar. Not Macbeth.
There's been some controversy over what the men are shouting.
Okay.
The published book of scripts doesn't actually list their word, it just calls it a frenzied, superstitious routine. I think there's scripts online that get it wrong, and apparently one of the DVD editions, I don't know if it's all the DVD editions, has it wrong in the subtitles. But what they're actually saying is hot potato, orchestra stalls, Puck will make amends, Puck being a Shakespearean character. So there you go, mystery solved.
Brilliant.
I didn't make that as entertaining as I could have, I don't suppose.
You could have performed it.
I could have given you some trivia about Puck, but no.
Blackadder asks the prince after this farce that he's just witnessed if he wants them to stay, and again he's insulted.
Yeah, I think this is the prince trying to show off to the actors now. I don't know why he was doing it earlier, but now he's showing off to the actors. So he talks Blackadder down a little bit, a couple of times.
He does. So Blackadder leaves and the actors hamily show their gratitude at the invitation before getting down to business.
They do.
What's up first?
Posture.
The stance, exactly. Now, what type of stance is a good stance?
It's like, did you ever see the pictures a couple of years ago from the Tory party conference where everyone that came on stage stood with their hands on their hips and their hips pushed forward and their knees out to the side? It's that exact stance.
Yeah.
The power stance.
So George practices this power stance, and in doing so, a squeak is heard, and he finds Baldric in the trunk with a sponge bomb.
Yeah, this is the second or third time they've done this joke about Baldric being concealed somewhere in the room where they are, but yes, it's Baldric cleaning.
The prince shouts at him, "Anarchist!" How does Baldric respond?
I can't remember, what does Baldric say?
"Cleaner."
Cleaner.
The prince says, "Okay, so you've had a bath."
Yeah, he's told to leave before the sponge explodes.
I think Blackadder enters to stop him.
Yeah, but he's not finished with his snark. He's maybe picking a little bit on the actors, and I would say they're probably emboldened by the prince putting Blackadder down, and they ask for him to be removed.
So they get back to the stance business, and the actors are impressed with the prince's, saying it shows his true greatness. How does Blackadder respond? He's not left the room as yet.
Yes, he's got an alternative interpretation, which is, "Here are my genitals, please kick them." And that's what prompts the actors to request his removal from the room. I think Blackadder's a bit nonplussed. He's already a bit annoyed at the prince, and this winds him up further. He says he's going to leave them to dribble in private.
Down in the kitchen, a raging Blackadder, he storms down, warns Baldric that he will be handing in his notice if there is any more of this from the prince.
Yep, he already gets enough stick at the Butlers Guild Christmas party where he's routinely awarded the prize for the most stupid master.
Stupidest master, yeah. He tells Baldric that the contract between him and the prince will be as broken as the milk jug he is holding.
Baldric foolishly points out that the milk jug is not broken.
Shortly as how?
On his face. Yeah.
Back upstairs, the actors have moved the prince on from the stance to the roar.
Absolutely.
Can you give us a roar, Ian?
Yes I can. Blackadder enters with a tray and has presented the perfect opportunity to slip in another little Macbeth, which leads to the same hyperactive routine. And the actors and the prince then all roar together.
Yes.
With George's roar being embarrassingly long and a bit ridiculous. And he then goes on to practice his speech.
He does. And they burst out laughing at the content, much to the anger of Blackadder.
Yeah, I mean, they're laughing at the content. I think the audience is laughing at the presentation because the prince is all sort of, rah, unaccustomed as I am to public speaking. It's very nicely done by Hugh Laurie there.
Yeah. Blackadder is again insulted as being a thick butler by the prince.
He's a hopelessly drivelly, can't write for toffee, crappy butler weed.
So what does Blackadder do?
He drops his tray in a huff and storms out, shouting, "Whoops."
And back down in the kitchen, we find out what Blackadder plans to do.
Supper, sir? Yes, preferably something that has first passed through the digestive system of the cat. And you have to take it up yourself.
Why?
Because I'm leaving, Baldric. I'm about to enter the job market. Right, let's see. The situation's vacant. Mr. and Mrs. Pitt are looking for a baby minder to take Pitt the Younger to Parliament. There's a fellow called George Stevenson has invented a moving kettle. Want someone to help with the marketing. Oh, there's a foreign opportunity here. Treacherous, malicious, unprincipled cad, preferably non-smoker, wanted to be King of Sardinia. No time wasters, please. By Napoleon Bonaparte, P.O. Box 1, Paris. Right, we're on our way.
As strange as it might have seemed when this was being put together, there is at least one delicacy I know that is fed through the digestive system of a cat.
We have discussed this in another podcast, which we've not mentioned, Coffee Talk podcast, for all you coffee lovers out there. We produced that. Ian, you were doing a bit of interviewing.
I was, and we talked about I think it's civet fed beans.
Is that what it was? Yeah.
Something along those lines. Yeah, go and check out Coffee Talk, we talk about it on there. There's no point going into it here. George Stevenson gets mentioned there, railway pioneer. I don't think there's anything particularly specific about the King of Sardinia reference, although I think most of Italy was known as Sardinia around about that time.
In the dining room, over a meal, the prince and the actors discuss attire, and he tells them that enormous trousers will be worn, obviously, for his speech. The lover, or he does anyway, loves a large pair of breeks.
He does. He goes to try on a new outfit, and after he leaves, it's immediately apparent that the actors are not enjoying their evening.
No, they're shaking their heads, but they try to make the best of their time by rehearsing some of their play that they have penned. Now, what is that entitled?
The Murder of Prince Romero and His Enormous Bosomed Wife.
Yeah, it's a bit of a tongue twister. I might go and see it myself, though. But anyway, rehearsing plays about murdering princes in the prince's palace, probably not the wisest of moves.
No.
Back down in the kitchen, Blackadder is further off, but can't bring himself to lie and tell Baldric he'll miss him.
No, and Baldric insults him back, thinking he's left, but too soon.
What does he say?
He calls him a lazy, big-nosed, rubber-faced bastard, and you wonder, is it Blackadder or Rowan Atkinson that he's insulting here?
I think a bit of both. And I like this because he quickly realises that Blackadder is still there, and he sort of looms back into the scene.
He suggests that Baldric may come to regret those words sooner than he thinks.
Yes, he doesn't think he can survive very long without him.
No.
I wonder what will transpire.
Who can predict?
Baldric seems to be more confident and claims that it's unlikely he's going to get murdered or anything before heading upstairs to answer the bell.
He does.
Back in the dining room, and as he approaches, he gets a bit of a shock.
As Baldric approaches, yes.
Yes. What's his shock?
Well, he hears this rehearsal, not realising it's a rehearsal, and he thinks the actors are plotting to murder the Regent.
And his servant.
Indeed. I think they're going to have servant sausages for tea.
So at this, a terrified Baldric, he bursts in on the prince and tells him what he has just heard.
The revolution started!
What?
A plot to kill you!
Ah, so you've come clean at last, have you bloody little poor person?
No, not me! The actors downstairs, they're anarchists!
Anarchists?
Yeah, I heard them plotting. They're going to poke out your liver, turn me into rissole, and then suck on your exquisite floppily-doppolies.
Well, what are we going to do?
Well, Mr. Blackadder says when the going gets tough, the tough hide under the table.
Blackadder, of course. Well, where is he?
Oh, he's in Sardinia.
What? Why?
Well, you were rude to him, so he left.
Oh, no! What a mad, blundering, incredibly handsome young nincompoop I've been. Oh, what are we going to do? If we go downstairs, they'll chop us up and eat us alive. Oh, no. Do! Shh, 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 shh.
Good evening, Your Highness.
Oh, Blackadder.
4 minutes, 22 seconds, Baldric. You owe me a groat.
Thank God you're here. We desperately need you.
Oh, me, sir? Mr. Thicky Black Thicky Adder Thicky.
Just
Mr. Hopelessly Drivelly Can't Write for Toffee Crappy Butler. Mr. Brilliantly Undervalued Butler who hasn't had a raise in a fortnight.
Take an extra 1,000. Guineas? Per month?
All right, what's your problem?
Blackadder agrees to investigate the problem with the anarchists in the next room.
He does. So he heads off to the dining room and immediately understands what is going on, but the actors' previous and current attitude towards him do them no favours, so I don't think he shows them any leniency.
No, they mock him. He gives them a chance and they mock him, so he leaves.
Yes, without explaining to them what the prince understands.
No, he then returns to the prince's room and confirms that the actors are traitors who need to be arrested, tortured and executed.
Seems fair.
I think so.
So it's later. We see the bound actors being held by guards as they plead their innocence. And Blackadder dismisses their scripts. How?
Well, he says that's exactly what he thought they would say, and their big mistake here was writing out their plan in the form of a play manuscript.
Yes, it's a criminal vanity.
He then Macbeths them.
The prince then thanks Bladder and asks how he can ever be repaid.
Yes, he asks him to stop calling him Bladder.
For a start.
And the prince says, right away, Bladder.
He suggests that there are no hard feelings, and Blackadder says no, it's good to be back in the saddle. I mean, harness. But he has a final suggestion.
He does. The theatre, which was previously going to stage a play by those two actors who are now to be executed and then tortured, is vacant. And Blackadder has written a play, and the Regent wants to participate.
What's this play called?
It's called Thick Jack Clot Sits in the Stocks and Gets Pelted with Rancid Tomatoes.
Does he have a part available for the prince?
The title role.
Fantastic.
The prince is very excited.
And that's where we end.
We do.
A really enjoyable episode. What's your thoughts?
I liked that one. I think I preferred it to the last couple. Yeah, because I was starting to think before we got into this week's one, I really prefer Blackadder 2 to this, but this one's better. I still prefer Blackadder 2, but it's closer.
Okay. Well, we go through some production information, trivia, anything we've
People
got?
love that stuff. Let's go.
8th of October 1987 was the original air date. Starred Hugh Paddock as Kenrick, one of the actors. Now, he died in 2000, aged 85, known for School for Scoundrels. Have you seen that?
No.
Good movie. The Larkins, Boone, Can We Get On Now Please, Pardon My Genie, and the Marty Feldman Comedy Machine. That's another connection to Sledgehammer.
Is it?
Yep.
Who was in that?
Not that someone was in it, but Marty Feldman was a huge influence and hero of Alan Spencer, the creator of Sledgehammer.
Fair enough.
Kenneth Connor, did you recognise him? He was Mossop, one of the other actors.
It's hard with all the makeup.
Yeah. He died in 1993, aged 75. He was in the latter stages of his career very well known for Allo Allo.
Mm-hmm.
He played the old guy who was always in the bed.
Right, yes.
The Memoirs of Sherlock Holmes. He was in Heidi High, On the House, Torchy the Battery Boy, Four Feather Falls, and Emney Enterprises. However, most people will be aware of him for starring in 17 of the Carry On movies, from the very first, which was Sergeant in 1958, to the last of the original run, which was Emmanuel in 1978. Now, I think there was Carry On Columbus was a 90s reboot and not considered canon as such, but yeah.
They're very keen on their canon in the Carry On series there.
Yeah. But yeah, so you probably recognise one of the sort of faces of British film.
Yeah, I mean, certainly I watched a lot of Allo Allo, so I would have picked him out from that if he hadn't been all coiffed.
You certainly recognise the anarchist.
I did, not so much from his face as his voice and the words that he was using that nobody else would get their tongue around.
Yeah, very distinctive. Born in 1959 was Ben Elton, a comedian, a writer, an actor and a playwright. He came on to Blackadder from Season 2. Season 1 was written by Richard Curtis and Rowan Atkinson.
Yeah.
I think Atkinson dropped out or was happy to be replaced by Elton. I think he appreciated it wasn't quite working.
I seem to remember we talked about this briefly in one of the Blackadder 2 episodes when we talked about their method. We talked about the script swapping from Blackadder 2 onwards.
Sure. He helped transform the show into what it is today. Certainly there's no debate about that. He was a key player on the alternative comedy scene in the UK in the early 80s, perhaps even late 70s. His writing credits include The Thin Blue Line with Rowan Atkinson, Mr. Bean with Rowan Atkinson, Stark, Filthy Rich and Cat Flap, The Young Ones, Alfresco and Spitting Image. His novels include Gridlock, Popcorn and Dead Famous. And the musical We Will Rock You, based on the songs of Queen, and a book by Ben Elton.
Yeah, I don't think that was hugely popular.
Are you sure?
I think the music's popular and people go to see it, but I think that there have been significant criticisms of the way that the show was put together.
Sure, but I think it is popular in the sense that it
sells tickets.
Tickets, yeah. When I first heard about it, I actually wanted to vomit. Cramming on all these songs about 7 Seas of Rye. It was horrible.
Yeah, it's just, it was, Mamma Mia was bad enough.
Yeah.
I quite liked The Thin Blue Line when I was young. I think from my point of view, a lot of Ben Elton's comedy is quite undergraduate comedy. It's stuff that, late teenagers, early 20s folk are going to find particularly funny. And it works for other people as well, but I think that's maybe the key group. And when I was in that bracket, I couldn't get enough of it. I loved these novels and some of his stand-up and stuff like that as well.
Sure. Mossop and Keenrick, the two actors, are amalgams of the famous thespians Henry Mossop, Edmund Kean and David Garrick.
Oh, okay. It's pretty good trivia.
Favourite line this week?
I had one marked. Hang on.
While you're looking, mine's was, "Here are my genitals, please kick them."
My favourite bit was near the start when Blackadder and the Regent are having the exchange about who was being targeted by the bomb.
Okay.
I think it was that. What on earth makes you say that? And it was the suspicions being first aroused by the use of death to the stupid prince.
Any trivia on your part this week?
Well, just that bit of theatre that I dropped earlier, the line that the actors were saying.
Okay. Next time we have Amy and amiability.
We look forward to that in a couple of weeks' time.
Okay, that's what I think.
Yeah, we'll see folk later on.
Cheerio.
Bye.